Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the world of discovery. And this is a webinar series hosted by Discovery Hospitality. This is the first of our series for the year 2021. And just to let you know, we do this series mainly because industry landscapes everywhere are shifting. Travel, dining, sustainability, and as we all regroup, let's take a look at where we are and where we're headed. Always staying ahead of the curve, of course, Discovery Hospitality is taking the lead in gathering key personalities across different fields to explore what we can expect and how we can adapt. This is the world of discovery, empowering you to see beyond challenges and explore new opportunities. So for this maiden webisode, in fact, we have invited a special co-host for this afternoon, a very well-respected personality in the F&B world. He is the Director of Communications of Resto PH, the Restaurant Owners Association of the Philippines. He's a blogging pioneer and a digital public relations and marketing professional who's taken social networking by the helm and spun it into his own quintessential mix of spunk and style. As you can see, Spanky Enriquez is co-hosting with me this afternoon. Welcome, Spanky, and thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Hi, Kathy. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. I'm a big fan and a big supporter of Discovery, and I really miss it here. And I'm really glad that even now, remotely, we're all here together to talk about where we want to take the industry and how we feel it's going to be in 2021. It's been the worst crisis ever to hit the industry this past year, the past 11 months. It's almost like we compare to World War II. We are on war footing, but the beauty of the F&B industry is this. We've been forced to innovate faster than usual. We've always been known for innovations, but the past year has really taught us how to be more nimble, and especially in three ways. First is how do we adjust our product? Number two, how do we comply with all the standards and protocols, especially for guest relations? And in particular, perhaps the most important, how to conform with the safety standards that are now being implemented all over the world. And you know what? It's a challenge, but we feel it's a good challenge. And if we all go through this together, we'll come out stronger in the end.
Indeed, definitely. You know, the food and beverage industry is it's a very creative and lucrative industry, and that's why we felt that it's time for us to talk about food and beverage this time. And of course, we have special guests with us. You want to start in introducing them?
Yes, I'm very happy to introduce my good friend. So let me read his bio. With
Yeah.
30 years of corporate and entrepreneurial experience, he has specialized in marketing, business development, and training. He's occupied management posts at Sumo Sam Foods, Big's Diner, Food and Hospitality Event Specialists Incorporated, the FINMA Education Group, San Miguel Pure Foods, Great Food Solutions, Kenny Rogers Roasters Philippines, and in IFF International Family Food Services, or Shakey's Philippines. He is the CEO of his 19-year-old management firm, Courage Asia Management Consulting, as well as a food and business coach and corporate trainer for brands such as Wolfgang Steakhouse, Mama Lou's Italian Kitchen, Mother Spice Food Group, the Red Crab Food Group, among many others. He has a combined 20 years of teaching experience locally and internationally. He was the editorial consultant and columnist of the 12-year-old F&B World Food Service Trade magazine and is a contributor to Food Magazine. Please welcome my good friend, Mr. Adolf Aran. Hi, Adolf.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, Spanky. Thank you, Kathy, and the Discovery team for inviting me today. Magandang hapon po.
Thank you, Adolf. I will call you Adolf this afternoon. Okay, our next panelist is Chef Sao del Rosario. As you all know, Chef Sao is a celebrated chef. He brings in a vast of 20 years of culinary experience, trained at the Culinary Institute of America. He has worked in great seafood restaurants in France and has traveled the world and used his experiences as inspirations for his indulgent dishes. This chef from Angeles City in Pampanga has shared the spotlight through television shows and stints in top Manila hotels, such as at the Shangri-La and New World. He also spent a brief period in Discovery Suites during our very early years, right, Chef?
Yes.
Welcome, Chef Sao. Thank you for gracing us this afternoon.
Hi, everyone. I'm looking forward to this moment because this is sort of a reunion. Hi to everyone. To Mr. GM. You look good. You look a little bit thin than, but you look better now as you grow old. Hi, Kathy. It's been a while.
Yes, thank you, Chef. And I'm sure we'll have more interesting topics later on.
Yes.
So last but not least, of course, we had to include somebody from our group. Chef, well, he used to be a chef. He is now our GM in Discovery Primea, David Pardo de Ayala. For the people who don't know, he is Colombian. He was born and raised in Colombia. Mr. De Ayala was a chef by training and started cooking almost as early as when he started walking. Is that right, Chef?
Correct.
In the early 1990s, Chef David became the youngest winner of his country's national culinary contest, the Nestle Toca de Oro, and thereafter spent a number of years as chef de partie in five-star hotels and executive chef of independent operations. He studied in New York. I think that's where he met his lovely wife and worked for restaurants in the city before moving to the Philippines and opened multiple renowned restaurants. He then became corporate chef of the Discovery Hotel Group and eventually moved his way up to become resident manager of Discovery Suites, and then eventually was made general manager of Discovery Primea. Good afternoon, David. Thank you for joining us.
Hola, Kathy. Delighted to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you as well for having such a distinguished group of panelists here this afternoon. Spanky, Chef Sao, Adolf, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, exactly. So very well respected in the field. Definitely, you'd have to assist me with, with more interesting questions later on, Jeff. Yes. So Spanky, you want to start off with a question that may be answered by everybody?
Yes. Hi, Kathy. Thanks again. Again, welcome. It's good to see David and Adolf and Sao. Wow, it's like a reunion. Okay, so one of the last events I attended before the pandemic hit and before we were declared under ECQ last March 16 was a four hands dinner here, right here where I am at Discovery Primea with none other than Chef Sao de Rosario as one of the chefs. And that's why it's very poignant. It's almost like a homecoming here. And that leads me to my question. For almost a year now, for 11 months and 2 weeks, we have been in quarantine. And one of the hardest hits in the industries, in not only in the Philippines, but in the whole world, has been F&B. My first question, and this to the three gentlemen, is how did you pivot and how did you survive this first 11 months? What was the first thing that you did in order to adjust and to make sure that we could keep going? So I'll ask Sal first.
Oh, well, thank you, Spanky. I must admit it wasn't that easy. The first month was very hard for me because I was self-quarantined. I was alone in our ancestral home in Pampanga. And it was very difficult time because, I am the ADHD guy, kind of guy. Mm. And I was stuck at home. So, but knowing me, I am a very positive person. I cannot just let this thing happen to me. So I try to reinvent myself, and I try to, honestly, I prayed so hard also. I seek help and guidance to, through and calling friends and family. And then there was a such time that I told myself, ano pwede kong gawin? What can I do for me to evolve and, to fight this pandemic, right? So, of course, I lost my two restaurants. We have to close down. And my objective is, how do I take care of my people? And I start baking, I start doing things. And because I had all the time in the world now, sabi ko, I will do things that I would, the thing that I hate most doing, which is baking. Of course, Chef David, David knows that I hate baking, I hate calculating, I hate measurements. Time that would be the best time for me to see how it goes, right? So I did a lot of baking. I measured everything carefully, religiously. I followed every instruction. I did video, whatever, and have you, and come up with buko pie. And I remember my mom. It's so strange when I was at home, feeling ko nandun yung mom ko because she passed away many years ago. And that was the only time I really spent so much time in the ancestral home. I felt the love and, that spirit of my mom and my father, the whole family. So I tried to, imitate all the recipes that I have at home. My mom taught me. So I tried with buko pie. And then the buko pie turns out to be a phenomenal because when I posted it, everybody wants to order it.
Yeah.
So I started with likes and people start ordering 1, 2, 3, and I start baking myself. I deliver to different villages.
Yeah.
And then in 1 week, I probably had 200 buko pie orders until in 1 month, I had 1,500 buko pie orders. And that's a very big thing for me, not in terms of money, because my only objective was to help my people, to bring them back to work. And from myself, then naging apat kami, turned out we were almost 28 bakers, and that way I was able to support them. I have to do something great. I need to help the community. So I supported all the buko suppliers. I fed the frontliners with all my food, and that's how it went. So in spite of all this pandemic, I know we could do great things. Hindi tayo pababayaan. We've gone through this, and I know this is just a scratch at the surface, and we could do more. So, having said that, then it came to the point that I need to do something. I need to go back to Manila. I have to do something great. I need to put a restaurant where people, of course, my clients are Manila-based, and I have to come back and put up my business. People call me fool or idiot or whatsoever because I'm putting up restaurant in spite of everyone is closing down, right? But then I am just so lucky. I'm just so blessed that I get paid for what I love doing. And my restaurant is doing well, and it's because people support me, people support the industry. And that's a way we can help each other. We support farmers, we support suppliers, small entrepreneurs, and people support me as well. And I think that's the way we want the world to be.
Right. Very well said, Chef.
I'll just add to that, Kathy, because so you're being very humble. Maybe you can move your head a little so we can see the sign behind you, the blue sign.
Yeah.
There you go.
The branding, Chef.
No, because
Yeah, go ahead.
I remember, Sal, when we were talking, this is in the middle of the ECQ when we couldn't even go out of the house. But I remember you had one of your drivers bring me a vuko pie. And then you started calling it the vuko pie. And as you said, from a few pies, it became dozens, it became hundreds, it became thousands. And you can you can draw a direct line from that first vuko pie to Café Fleur, which is now one of the biggest hits and was leading the resurrection of the Poblacion district. So thanks, Sal, congratulations.
Well, there's no room for mistakes. I'm too old to do the same mistakes, right? And how can you go wrong when you're doing your mom's? These recipes are foolproof. I've done it. My Café Fleur is about celebrating my mom's recipes and in honoring my mother. How can I go wrong when
You can.
I know exactly what to do?
Yeah.
Modesty aside, okay.
Yes.
Okay, Kathy, for the next question, would you like to throw it to?
Yeah, well, I wanted to ask Adolf, from coining from the question of Spanky. Any thoughts on that?
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Spanky. Well, now that I've heard Chef Sao, I remember his stories about his about Paris many years ago when he just celebrated his 50th birthday, and now I'm taken back to these poignant stories once again. And last year was also a lot of stories, and I remember during the first 3 months we were all taken aback, and I guess we all couldn't believe that it will all stop. The world stopped because of this virus. And after 3 months of practically doing nothing, I was cooking at home, doing a lot of stuff, domestic mostly. I remember, Spanky, you remember that when finally we decided, okay, we need to be able to get our act together and bring the industry
Yes.
back on its feet. And the prediction that time was that the industry will only resume operations by September of last year. But we didn't want to do that because we knew that it would be too late for the industry if we had to delay the opening. So as early as June 15, we were rallying not just the government, but different parts of all stakeholders of the industry, suppliers, of course, the restaurants, the hotels, etc. And it was difficult, especially because I'm a consultant. I earn my bread and butter through consulting. I do public relations. I do headhunting. And I was doing mostly pro bono work for most of the accounts because nobody couldn't had cash problems at the time. So I was doing heavy pro bono consulting and headhunting and public relations. And while doing that, I saw how the bayanihan happened naturally. Just like that, we saw a lot of chat groups of restaurants trying to stay afloat, trying to share secrets, suppliers, how to hold on if you have people who need jobs. Maybe we can help. So the helping took priority even if everyone had a lot of cash flow problems. So I think if only for that, we saw mentality wherein this is mine, this is yours. Now there's a lot of sharing happening, and Resto PH did just that. No? And later on, there's a lot of not just helping, but also trying to um, give stories of how can we bring back operations, how can we pick ourselves up. I think these are a lot of stories that we can share. 10 years down the road, we will just be laughing at this crisis. Jeff
Right,
sounds correct.
hopefully sooner than that.
Yes. We've been through a lot, and I think we can weather this. This afternoon's session is really about a lot of stories about hope and resilience and perseverance.
Kathy, I've said to my humble friends here, Adolf was actually very instrumental in when we were first forming Resto PH. Actually, it started way back in May, you don't remember?
Yes.
And by June, we had banded the restaurants together. And at first, it was a small group, just maybe 5, 10, 15 of us. And it grew and grew. We now have over 300 members across the board, all over the archipelago. But I remember Adolf and most of the restaurant owners, we were even talking to the IATF, remember, and DTI.
Yes.
We were appealing to Secretary Mon Lopez at the DTI to open the restaurants early because the state of set, they were looking at September.
Yes.
And we were able to advance at Kathy by 3 months. So we opened the restaurants in June when the GCQ was declared here in Manila. And to a large extent, all the protocols you see here, the clear partitions, the diagonal seating, all of these, Adolf was a big part of that as well. So thank you, Adolf and Resto PH for that.
Thank you, Spank.
You know, talking about helping each other, right? And it's really prevalent in our industry, whether it's the hotel industry, the restaurant industry. You mentioned coordinating with DTI and the IATF group. We also in the hotel industry have been closely coordinating with the Department of Tourism, of course, and DTI to a certain extent, because all those guidelines now that we have established, we really have collaborate to help the different businesses. And I think that's the good thing about our industry. We really worked closely with the Department of Tourism and DTI to be able to come up with protocols and guidelines to to tell the public that there are safety guidelines and we can still enjoy our usual services and the different kinds of food and beverage offerings that us Filipinos are so creative to offer out in the public, right? So, let's give David a chance to share.
Yeah, I want to know
Connection
about.
with this. Of course, it's a given. The hotel industry is really one of the biggest industry badly hit. And David, I'm quite aware of what we have gone through in the hotel group, and I think it will be very nice for you to share what are the learnings and what are the positives of going through all these challenges in the past almost a year now.
Yes, Kathy, thank you. As I listen to Sao and Adolf, I realized that really there is, while we share many things in common in terms of the many challenges that we face, there was definitely a big difference between independent restaurants and hotel operations per se, and that is the fact that we did not have an intermission. There was no break for us. We haven't closed. We never stopped working or operating.
Yeah.
At first, the hotel catered to the priority industries that government wanted to guarantee continued operations. And as time has changed, as the rules have changed, our hotel has never stopped operating. So when the pandemic first started, and the challenge was my restaurants, of course, at that point were closed, but we had a hotel with a number of guests that still needed the food and beverage services. And at that point, the challenge was the sourcing ingredients, suppliers, etc., to guarantee their safety and that of their products. Our operations team was staying in the hotel. All ships are here, and so that was a big difference. As the regulations relaxed a little bit more, restaurants were allowed to go back into operation. Some of our outlets started opening slowly. And like Spanky said earlier, we realized that definitely we needed to reinvent ourselves. We needed to pivot, and that's when takeout and delivery became so important to us. Sao had his very prestigious buko pie. Thankfully for Primea, our restaurant Aran was already very famous for the probably most convenient food for takeout and delivery, which is pizza.
Yes.
So an incredible growth on our pizza operations. And we were among the first, if not the very first hotel
Yes,
to open to offer a takeout and delivery. So an early start allowed us to get a foothold in this new market segment. And since then, it has all been about the constant reinvention, constant experimentation with new ideas, while at the same time, like everyone has mentioned so far, making sure we supported, played our role as part of the community. Discovery Primea provided, for example, meals to the frontliners of the Makati Health Department, as well as in the early stages of the pandemic when the armed forces were controlling traffic along EDSA, the access to World Bonifacio. We had members of the police and the army there non-stop, so we were feeding those authorities as well. And thanks to the incredible resilience and hard work of my team here at Discovery Primea, the trust and support of our owners, we have been able to day by day, month by month, and continue to move forward. And we're looking at the remainder of 2021 with optimism.
Kathy, I have a follow-up question for David.
Yes, of course.
And well, number one, on a personal note, David, as you very well know, my favorite pizzas in Makati are here at Tapenad. And thanks to Chef Luis Chimkianco. And thank you for opening early. And I'm gonna get a few pizzas later. And thank you for opening early. But I have a question because right now the hotel, Discover Primea, is not yet open for staycations.
Correct.
Right? And what can we foresee for this? Do we have a timeline for us to open for? Because this is one of my favorite staycation areas, or hotels rather. And to my mind, it's got the best staycation pool likewise in Makati, right? So how do we see this moving forward?
Well, there are many factors that are considered there. There are number one, the regulations of government as to transitioning to a staycation hotel. There are also purely business factors in terms of demand, the demand that is out there in terms of the market itself. Right now, this is a business hotel, a corporate business hotel, and right now we remain a quarantine property, and we have established a market that has been fruitful for us so far. So as the conditions of the quarantine continue to evolve, continue to relax, perhaps the vaccine rollout starts gathering momentum, like the president himself has asked for a little bit of patience when it comes to this, then the evolution will be in that direction.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. And
Looking forward to having you back.
yes, please advise ASAP. Thanks, send David. Thanks, Kathy.
Yes. So, next question I guess this will apply to everybody, because of the guidelines. And of course, for obvious reasons, we have to maintain safety and, the protocols have to be abided to. I mean, we really need to be conscious about the spacing of the restaurants and all that. Do you feel a particular difference when it comes to customer relations? What are your thoughts on this, Chef? Because you have a restaurant now that's newly open. Maybe Chef Sao.
Well, before there are quite few requirements to come up with a very, let's say, successful restaurant, right? One, you have to have good food, you have to good ambience. Now it's all about safety first. Mm-hmm. The safety measures in the restaurant is quite tough for us also. I could only speak for myself because it also become costly, right? Because you have to buy this, you need to disinfect. The safety measures that we try to put up in our restaurant is one, for example, by on a regular basis, every 2 weeks, I have my guys get tested for COVID, right? Because that way we make sure that we have a very safe environment or restaurant. We also disinfect our restaurant every other week. And of course, we are very compliant to the rules and regulation provided by us, by the LGUs, or if not, the government. So we disinfect and everything. So we also have, when I happen to open this restaurant, I sit with that there's also a fresco, because people are so itching to go out, but then they need a very secured place to dine in. And I thought this is also one key ingredient why my restaurant became successful, because we have al fresco dining seating. Although people will fight for the table, and but there's nothing much I could do. But it is very tough. It's very costly. It's quite challenging. But you know what? People are asking me why the Café Fleur work, and I would say I don't know. Only because I cannot say because the food is good, but in Poblacion, parking is very tough. We probably have 2 parking across, and and I have probably 100 guests a day. It's so tough. But I always tell people that aside from good food, a very good, safe environment to dine in, sometimes it's a lot of prayers also, and also because the stars are aligned. It's something like that. Well, going back to the question, yeah, you have to be very compliant because we need to give our guests a secured place. We need to keep my boys and girls in the restaurant also safe. You know, at the end of the day, safe is first and most important thing. Of course, food is next. Um, Malinis ba yan? Nakamask ka ba yan? Di ba? There's so many questions. And you know, for restaurant, I'm sure as Spanky will agree, it's so hard for us because ang daming cost ng acrylic, ang daming alcohol, ang daming guantes, ang daming mask. And then when you increase your price, people would pumapalag, di ba? So it's quite challenging. But again, you need to have good food. You have to. I really work my butt. You know, sorry for saying that, but I really give my all. For 2 months now, yeah.
Wow, we're making you cry again. Whenever we're talking, we get very emotional because I just like to take off from what Chef Sao was saying. It's really these are difficult times, obviously for everyone, but more than that, I think for every industry, the restaurant industry, the hotel industry, our priority is to take care of our people. I know of so many restaurateurs. The reason they're operating at a loss. Let me be very clear on that. Very few. We're 90%. Maybe 95% of restaurants are in survival mode right now. But you ask anyone, owner of a big restaurant, chain, a multinational all over the Philippines, or even a small mom and pop in a small town in the Visayas, the main reason that's why you decided to open is you want to give employment to your people. And I'd like to give some kudos and honor to all of my friends in the restaurant. And it's not been easy. It's really not been easy. And we foresee that although we're a bit more optimistic now, Valentine's and the Chinese New Year economy was pretty good business for the best in a year for all of us. We still know that there are a lot of hurdles and challenges ahead. But to people like Sal and all the chefs and restaurateurs, thank you for being there for us. Food is essential, right? And this is one of the things that gives us a semblance of normalcy during these very trying times. And that's why I'll segue to Adolf. Adolf, our biggest question is dine in versus stay home. What are your thoughts on this, and how can restaurants balance dine in, al fresco, takeout, delivery? And what are your thoughts on this?
Okay, last week we had our session with the Department of Tourism, and we were trying to create this travel bubble, so allowing our domestic tourism to flourish. We know for a fact that entertaining foreign tourists at this point is a lost cause at the moment because of the restrictions. But I think it's important that we are able to put in place all the safety precautions. The Department of Tourism, together with the other LGUs and DTI, are trying to work hand in hand to make sure that all of these are in place before we can totally open the business. And to go back to your question, I think right now, the situation is that the consumer confidence is slowly trying to increase. No? And with the increase in consumer confidence, we can see increased revenues. But how can we do this if we see a lot of, when you enter an establishment, you see all these protocols and you get scared. You know, parang, oh, wow, I have to do this, I have to do that. And people are worried. Am I going to get infected? I think first and foremost, what we need to do is to find out fear is created because of lack of information. And the lack of information is happening because, so much fake news all around. And the more we feed them the right information that we are doing this, I saw what Discovery did in terms of video, what you're doing currently. And if they see that happening, plus they see it in actual operations, then the entire industry doing the same thing, we will all feel that same confidence. So Right now, we continue to see a surge in terms of takeout and delivery. And we want to be able to replace that with dine-in. Obviously, Chef Sau's restaurant in Poblacion is probably one of those that enjoy full capacity. I think up to that 50% that is allowable. And I think you are lucky enough to be able to have that, chef. But for some who are not as lucky, I think there's a a bandwagon, a group effort to be able to promote certain locations, not just Poblacion, Café Fleur in Poblacion, but the Poblacion community as well. So you need to be able to put in a lot of good news, not just tell them about how safe it is, but tell them that hey, uh, we are currently trying to provide you a different normal. With that in mind, hopefully the consumer confidence will come back and we see this takeout and delivery and dine in, all of these facets of business taking off, hopefully in the near future.
Very near future, hopefully.
Yes, that's all our wish, definitely. Yeah. Um, David, maybe you can share also with our viewers and the panel how we were able to pivot our business in F&B. Obviously, in the hotel, um, our usual business is, people are coming in, they dine, they have the VIP service because we are a five-star hotel, both Discovery Suites and Discovery Primea. And obviously with the the distancing and the mask on the faces of your staff, how were you able to establish that connection still? And what were the initiatives that the group has made with your leadership in terms of offering new things in food and beverage?
Thank you, Kathy. In terms of the connection, our connection with our clients, I think it started even before they were able to come back to our restaurant. It was very important for us to make sure that we maintain that relationship with our very loyal followers. And in this regard, our marketing team, our marketing efforts played a very important role. Social media played a very important role. And we were lucky to already enjoy a strong bonds with a loyal following for Discovery Premier. So we adjusted our position a little bit. We are a part of a community. We set up 5 community groups to track the what's going on in the neighborhood along Apartment Bridge Road, etc. And something else that was very important for us in our communications and our connection with the market was that it was not always, the messaging was not always one of sell, but one of we care about you. I think one of the most important concepts of the last year is to empathize, to try to put ourselves on the shoes of the other, on the shoes of our market, on the shoes of those that are looking at us, and to communicate that we care about them beyond strictly a business relationship. We have also taken that concept, that factor into consideration when we design our product. We try to look at what they consider convenient, what they consider delicious, what they consider value for money, how they see things from their perspective, and how to remove as many pain points from the interaction as possible. When the doors started opening, dining was allowed again at the restaurant. And definitely it has changed. And I personally don't think that it's going to go back fully to the normal that we knew before. I feel we have to come to terms with that and embrace the fact that this new normal is here to stay. Maybe it will go back to a certain degree, but the new way of doing things, the new way of designing restaurants, the new way of designing menus is here to stay. Everybody will have to consider a strong takeout and delivery component. Everybody will have to consider a strong digital component in the setup of the restaurant, the market, the design of the physical spaces. Sao himself said it. Never before had al fresco dining been so important. My smallest outlet in the hotel is now the most popular because it has al fresco. That's what
Because
people
it's
want,
open.
fresh air. They want to be able to remove that mask with confidence. So
That's right.
really, the lessons are many, and they will impact our industry from now on. And just to close this concept or this question, one of the most important value propositions of going to a restaurant in general, it doesn't have to be a fancy restaurant, going to a restaurant, is the service component, the ambience component, all the ceremony, the wine pouring, service interacting with your server, etc. All that has been removed from the takeout and delivery version of our business. So all of us have had to try to evolve the product in such a way that it delivers value in other ways. I take a lot of hope. I'm very optimistic when I see some of the leading chefs in the world that I look up and admire up to this day that I'm no longer an active chef, but 3-star Michelin chefs with really ambitious operations in Europe, doing their best to adjust their product, their operation, to deliver a similar value in a takeout or delivery version. It will never be the same eating at the 3-star Michelin or Quique da Costa, but getting a version of this cuisine at home is probably as close as it's going to get to the real thing. And I think we all have to consider that moving forward as our operations continue to evolve.
Kathy, I have a follow-up question for David.
Yes.
And this with regards to the employees of the hotel.
Correct.
And as we all very well know, very recently, one of our neighbors here, our esteemed neighbors, or one of the first big hotels here in Makati, the Makati Shangri-La, unfortunately had to shut down temporarily on furlough, and we're praying very hard that they open very soon. How did the Discovery Group, in particular Primea, take care of their employees? Because I know it is very difficult for the restaurants. The reason why a lot of the restaurants still can't operate at full capacity is simply a matter of transportation. A lot of chefs and front of house people have gone back to the provinces. How have you managed to keep and sustain operations with regards to Primea and the rest of the Discovery Group, as far as your employees are concerned?
Well, we have had, of course, the operations have had to scale back a little bit. Not a little bit, considerably because we no longer have 6 restaurants operating and full banquets and high occupancy. So we have had to be very creative and resourceful with the schedule of our team, of our associates. Everybody has made, I guess sacrifices is the right word. And that's why I'm so grateful to them. Everybody is very aware that things are not the same. So if I can only get a limited number of shifts per week, they're ready to do it. They have given, I'm now the one that is going to get teary-eyed. Earlier it was Sal, but now it's me, because my team has been positively amazing. I couldn't ask for a better group of collaborators. And we have done our absolute best to repay that effort from the side for many months. At the height of the pandemic, we had a vast amount of employees housed in the hotel, protecting them, their families, their work, ensuring that we were in this bubble of safety in the hotel. As things have evolved, gotten better, etc., we continue to adjust. But yes, so far, mostly about adjusting schedules, adjusting shifts. Some have taken a temporary break from work. In addition to the strict implementation of the multiple protocols that Sao was talking about earlier from the Department of Health, the local government authorities, and I'm personally a big believer that we need to internalize and embrace all these new practices really for them to become automatic in us. I don't really share a somewhat paternalistic view that everything should be done for us. We as individuals, all of us, our employees, etc., we have to play a very important part in controlling this pandemic. The discipline has to come from us. The prevention has to come from us. The embracing all these new disciplines in hygiene. And like I said earlier, we remain optimistic about the future in 2020.
Thank you, David. Thank you. And thank you to everyone in Discovery Group. Yeah. Keep the faith,
Yes,
guys.
that's right. And Spanky, if I may add, earlier we were talking about communicating with our clients, our loyal patrons, and whether it's through social media, whether Chef Sao shows how he does his buko pie, it's the same thing with our employees. I think the communication is very important. We explain to them the situation, and I guess everybody understands we're running a business, and that's why going back to food, the quality of the food is really also very important, because when people like the food, then it's also your way of communicating to your clients, right?
Yeah.
Whether in the restaurant or it's a takeout manner. Yeah.
Kathy, and then this next question I'll address to Adolf. But do you remember, it seems so long ago now, but it's just a few months ago, at the start, by May of 2020 and by June, one of the biggest threats to the restaurant industry were the home-based businesses.
Yeah.
Remember? Because everyone was home. Everyone started making dalgona coffee, which didn't sell. But then everyone started making ube cheese pandesal, and then followed by sushi bakes and sourdough, and it went on and on. It's tapered off somehow, right? Because a lot of these people have now gone back to work. But again, we have some new brands that are now putting up standalones. And I'd just like to find out, Adolf, what advice would you give as a restaurant consultant to all of these new businesses, how to prosper? And perhaps more importantly, to the restaurant, to your restaurant clients, how would you address all of these changes in the industry by supporting each other, not necessarily treating each other as competitors?
That's a very good question, Spanky, considering that the market, yes, some have decided to go back to work, but some have stayed on. I have a lot of stories of inspiring stories of people who managed to create businesses, small at that, but have flourished in the market right now. I think right now we are seeing a lot of opportunities. No? Let me show three examples, three stories of some pivoting that happened along the way. This is can you see the photo?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see it.
Those are choco chip cookies. And this is like self-promoting my son, my 14-year-old baker son, Javier, who decided to experiment on something like this. He decided to sell it among our condominium neighbors. And now he's hitting about 100 dozens of this since he started last December.
All right.
But that's a very small business. Now, the next example, this one is really very inspiring. The next one talks about, next please, yes. This is Slow Burn Manila. The chef was an former chef from Boracay. Obviously, Boracay had to shut down. So he went back to Manila and created this surf and turf. We know surf and turf from many years, and we've ordered that, I guess, in many restaurants. But what he tried to do is to create something really colorful. It was a visual feast, fantastic value for money, less than 1,000 for a portion of about 3 to 4, and voila! And it's very appropriate for Christmas because it has greens and reds. And this is now making a killing in the takeout market. And I'm not sure if Slow Burn Manila will eventually be a restaurant, but we don't know that. Another inspiring story is this one came from Amaze and Grace. What she used to get her income through a chain of nail salons selling RTW because that had to stop because of the pandemic. She discovered in herself, the baker in herself, that she can actually bake. So she started doing chocolate coated strawberries plus macarons. Put that together, she created Amaze and Grace by Chef Marge. So you have a lot of discovery that happened along the way. And I think one of the things that came out positively out of the pandemic is that there's a lot of self-discovery, whether am I fit to get into business? So what are the innovation that I think of that are already existing, like surf and turf or macarons, and maybe I can add my creativity and put in something. I think that happened to Chef Sal's Book of Pie. I mean, Book of Pie has been there for the longest time, and yet he created something very special. So innovation can happen if you take one thing and make it very takeout friendly, delivery friendly, and making sure that that innovation will last for a long period of time. It's not just taking something and making something beautiful. You make sure that when they receive it, I've seen a paella gone wrong. You know, you deliver paella, and when it reaches you, it's a hodgepodge of a lot of rice and all that stuff. What you want to do is to recreate the experience that when they go to a dining area, when they go to the restaurant, they get that in a takeout box. Hopefully, that's still being replicated. So the competitiveness is there. I think there's a lot of competition out there. But what we want to be able to do is make sure that the stories, the why of these entrepreneurs will continue to make them weather all this crisis together with the more established chains. Because the more established chains obviously have seen it during the EDSA revolution, all the other crises in the past, the Asian economic crisis. But the new ones, the new guys, are now seeing this for the first time. And that's why I think it's important not just to help yourself, but to help others succeed as well. And that's, I think, what will make all of us weather this storm, this virus.
Nice. I guess the pandemic really pushed everybody to bring out the creativity, right? And at the same time, evaluate the viability of their businesses, because that's really what's important, because everything is challenged nowadays. So we have to push each other really, and stay positive, as in the industry, I guess. Yeah.
I have a question for our friends here. It's a bit of a easier question than the one I threw to Adolf and David and to Sao earlier. What was your favorite food trend? I'm just curious, because we still have our ongoing food trends. Chef Sao, what was your favorite food trend aside from Book of Fire?
Yeah.
Of the past year.
The Café Fleur Poblacion, I mix it up, right? Some of the items are COVID experiments. And it's so nice to share those experiments because the food itself has stories to tell, right? Like, how did I come about with the Book of Pie, for example? But most of my items in the menu would be my travel experiences also. I tried to share also because everybody needs to travel. So my food is a collaborative. It's a collection of my travel food experiments also, because a lot of people, they stop home. So when you come up with a Moroccan lamb shank, for example, or go a pollo a la plancha when I was in Mexico, and when you tell the story to the people, aliw na aliw yung mga love listening to those stories. And I think that's a strong point about food. And going back to your question, yung mga housewives kanina, Spanky, I just wanted to ask, yung threat, yung mga home cooks, then they started to bake and natali yung Book of Fire, whatsoever. I think, I don't see it that way. It shows kung paano yung Pilipino, how resilient they are. They show, I'm so proud of them when they ask me for recipes and I would give them. When they copied my Vocify, when they copied it, you didn't hear anything from me, because
Yes.
that alone is very inspiring. It's very humbling that you inspire people to, to live and to struggle, and you love to see people succeed, right? So
Correct.
Cafe Fleur is all about helping also. People would think it's just all about money. It's a passion. And Kathy, this is the only thing that I know na alam kong gawin. Kung hindi ako naging kusinero, hindi ko alam kung ano ako, di ba? So, yeah, siguro hostess ako, or siguro farmer ako, drug addict ako. Wala ko lang malento din magluto, no? So, yun ang masasabi ko. Yung going back to Spanky's question, ano yung trend? Just sharing the bit of the beautiful inside I have inside. Well, the beautiful experience in life I had is one thing that I could. This pandemic has brought the best in me. I learned how to become strong. I learned how to be more focused on what I wanted to share, aside from cooking, right? To inspire people. And I get inspired also by Spanky, by all of you guys, because this world is really, parang this COVID thing is parang parang showstopper. Hey, wait, you need to take easy naman. So yun ang nangyari sa akin. Yung restaurant, pagbukas ko ng restaurant, it's not just about money, it's about passion. It's about sharing my life with everyone. I'm not being so dramatic or emotional about it. It also leads to helping other people as much as you help us as Spanky, especially, or Adolf. It's just really helping each other. So ang trend ng food ko is about sharing my life a bit. Maybe from those little bits you could get from it, or you could get from them. And it's hard to tell now because it's just a snap of finger, the world nagiba. So the trend would be sharing, loving each other, and that's about it. Through food, maybe.
Well said. Well said. David, you know this so much. I'm a big fan of the restaurants here. I was asking Carmina earlier, how did Flame do during the Valentine's weekend? And what kind of changes did you have to make? Because Flame is perhaps one of the most romantic restaurants.
Right.
It's my favorite date place. Okay.
Mhm.
So David will always see me here with so many people before. But how did you pivot this past Chinese New Year and Valentine's weekend? What were the changes you had to make for Flame?
Well, Valentine's Flame is not one of the restaurants that is permanently open to the public right now in Primea, but we did open it as a special treat during Valentine's Day. I go back to what I shared with you earlier in terms of al fresco dining. I don't know if you recall, but Flame shares the same floor with Edge, which is al fresco.
Yes.
So everybody wanted a table in Edge right away. An amazing view plus fresh air.
Yeah.
That one sold right away. Flame did well to allowable capacity because there are rules, no? They as to the number of guests that you can have in a dining room. So it was an inspiring thing because it made us think maybe the circumstances are already lining up for the return of Flame. We have a couple of interesting ideas for a gradual let's call it testing of the waters of the market as to how ready it is to welcome back this operation. At the same time, and I go back to the takeout and delivery concept, we knew that many people that love Flame, in fact, I can give you a good example, are above the allowable age bracket for going out, right? Or are almost there, so they hesitate, they're not so sure, they still don't go out. So we came together and we put a takeout version of the Flame experience that was delivered to them. It included wine, it included a multi-course meal, and the reception was quite good. People liked it. So it's another encouraging development that makes us think that maybe there is a space for something like this. Offhand, people always probably discount or don't believe on a refined dining experience being able to deliver. But those of us that follow international chefs, and I'm sorry to go back to the same point as before, I don't know if you have heard of restaurant Alinea in Chicago. This is a 3-star Michelin restaurant. And they are very creative on every level, from their cuisine, which is amazing, to their serving vessels, to their mixology. Right. And when this thing started and the city went on basically total lockdown, they were the first fine dining restaurant, 3-star Michelin, to come up with a takeout option, and it was a runaway hit. So it's a matter of perhaps just going for it, designing the right product, and you can have your favorite restaurant at home. So Flame had its first taste of that during Valentine's Day. The results were encouraging, and we're looking forward to more.
Excellent. Adolf, question for you to follow up there. What's your favorite? Because a lot of the restaurants have come up with their experiences in a box, right? And I'm talking from the ramen restaurants, DIY, to foie. What's your favorite so far? Or any stories to tell?
Okay, there are obviously successful ones, and those are which may be considered a epic fail, no? But let's not talk about the failures. Let's talk about.
I know you're very strict about these things. So I'm not the question to you.
Well, I think I mentioned the Slow Burn Manila, but that did not come from a restaurant. No, I think the Fatted Calf, if one of those successful ones that were able to, because it's a combination of, it's a husband and wife team that created both the hot food meals and the pastry. And the strawberry donuts of Chef Rhea Sisip is probably
that's the best, yeah.
And when you receive them, it's like being transported to the Fatted Calf in Tagaytay, even if it's a faraway place. No? And it's indulging, obviously, because you're biting into something which is really very sinful. Even the likes of Makati Shangri-La, before they closed, they were able to recreate the takeout delivery of takeout boxes of Sinfully, which they did in the past. And of course, there's a lot of takeout also that happened when it comes to even the likes of the established chains like Kenny Rogers, when they started putting together all these new chicken dishes, especially the chimichurri. Those are, I think, some of the more established ones. But I'm really a dessert person. I have a sweet tooth. That's why I love getting all these samples coming from the pastry chefs. But I'm a kakanin person as well. I love Aling Kika's bibingka. And I think that's one of the more take-out-friendly food that's going around during the pandemic. And if there's one thing that's really good about the pandemic is that we were finally able to discover a lot of our local produce can actually reach Metro Manila fresh. I mean, gone are the days wherein we only get the leftovers of the fruits to be exported to other countries. But because export is so limited, now we're flooded with our very own sweet pomelos from Davao. Yeah. So that's really one of the good news that came about. No, what else? So, and I love frozen stuff as well. I think frozen food, whether it's ready to eat or ready to cook, have already has been elevated to the point that we are able to appreciate not just the ones that will make us less stupid when it comes to cooking, because these are very cook-friendly stuff. But I think we're able to also appreciate freshness at its best. No, there are two types of people that were created by pandemic. One would be those who are impatient, who still have the I want this now type of attitude. That's why the freshness and and it has to be delivered within 30 minutes or so. And those who can afford to wait it out. I don't mind waiting for another 3-4 hours as long as I get to enjoy these meals. So these are the things I think that came about during the pandemic as well.
Yeah. It's really very interesting, if I may add. In both hotels, Discovery Suites and Primea, we've also come up with products that actually cater to families, like family style dishes that can be delivered to their homes. And we came up with that mainly because staying home, you also kind of get sick of your own
That's
home
true.
dishes, right? And it's been almost 1 year, and I think it was a welcome addition to our delivery items. So we're continuing with that, and also, of course, the all-time favorites, like in Primea, the paellas, and of course the pizza. Now the manchego cheesecake is really becoming very popular.
Yum.
The
Wow.
DIY
Wow.
of Discovery Sweets is also making a killing. I mean, during Valentine's Day, while they had, the Valentine's packages in 22 Prime in Discovery Sweets, they also had those bringing Valentine's to your household. And
Mm,
it was
so
very, very
hungry.
encouraging.
Kathy,
I
you're
know,
making us
right?
hungry, Kathy.
Yeah, soft plugging lang.
Okay, it's okay.
Spanky, I just want to add, during the pandemic, kami naman, since I was the president of Culinaria Pampanga, no? And it was so sad because most of our yung market namin, a chunk of our market galing ng Manila, and they cannot afford to go to Pampanga anymore because of the lockdowns, etc. With the help of Spanky, we were able to bring in Pampanga to Manila by, a group of chefs that I brought with me in Manila. We delivered food also. Your favorite lengua sofada, sisig, paella, kare-kare macadamia. It's not for anything else, but I was able to help my fellow Kapampangans, and of course, Spanky orchestrated everything. It was a big success, and that way it was also we try to help each other there. And in the case of Café Fleur, like I said, we try to come up with more of a positive approach in our operations. Like last Sunday, we started with our Sunday brunch. We were partnered with Shandon, and it was packed. So that means it's a good sign that people are really looking forward to the parang new lease of life of ng
Getting
mga
out.
restaurants.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now we're opening for breakfast starting March, and etc. etc. So it's a good thing. I think it's getting better now. Life is getting prettier. Mas magandang dating ng business ngayon.
Yeah.
I'll,
My
I'll
God.
just add to what Sao said. So we're ready to. Sao has been very busy launching his very successful Café Fleur. But the minute you have some breathing space, we're more than ready to resume operations for Culinaria Pampanga. Because we really have good food, and we're all set for that. And we have a couple of major announcements to make with Chef Sao over the next few weeks, and we're going to have a big Kapampangan food festival at one of my favorite malls very soon. And that's it. We have to keep on supporting everyone, not just in Metro Manila, but the nearby provinces, as far as Davao, for the Pomelas. But again, these conditions have really led to excellent opportunities as well. So the ones that will innovate, the ones that are brave, the ones that have the passion and the courage to do so, like Courage Asia, right? Will be the ones to really survive. But I think the takeaway, my personal takeaway from all of this is, let me share an anecdote. When we started Resto PH, we found out that none of the major restaurant owners, the groups, didn't really know each other. They were not even on friendly terms. But my favorite story is this: some of the best steak houses in Manila, not in hotels, but in Manila. So, I'm accepting 22 Prime from this particular anecdote. So we have Mamu, we have House of Wagyu, we have Wolfgang's. House of Wagyu is owned by Corinne Castañeda, Wolfgang's by Raymond Magdaluyo, and Mamu is managed by Oye Forest. You know what? The three most active members of Resto PH are those three steakhouse people. They're the three biggest competitors. They never knew each other before this. Now they're the best of friends. And that's what, if there's a silver lining to all of this, is that our industry has gotten really closer together. We have endeavored, we've talked late into the night for hours and hours over Zoom to help each other from the smallest to the biggest. And that's where we want to go. And we want to translate also moving forward once, and we can't wait for the hotels to open once again. That's what we like to do.
Don't
We have
forget,
the full support.
forget Albert Cuenca.
And Albert, of course. So the four, one of those people.
Hmm, very good.
And now we have drinks together. It's crazy. These are the biggest competitors: the Albert Steakhouse, House of Wagyu, Mamu. My
Drinking with
goodness, and Wolfgang, all breaking bread and drinking a lot of wine together. So
That's
there you
Yeah.
go.
I guess, getting into one common goal is really the key, right, to continuous progress. Well, the food and beverage industry is definitely a very dynamic industry. We can talk so much about it.
Yeah.
Of course, we have to wrap up. We've actually extended our
Or have we?
1 hour stay.
Okay.
But
Right,
yes,
right.
before we end this very interesting session, I just wanted to invite the viewers and the listeners. If you want to see more about the Discovery properties, of course, you can always follow the Discovery Hospitality social media accounts at Discovery Hospitality Corp on Facebook and at Discovery_Hospitality on Instagram. This is where you will see all our food and beverage offerings. Of course, we are also trying to be very innovative in all our offerings and to continue to communicate to our clients. And of course, we also have our resorts in Boracay, Discovery Shores Boracay, and Club Paradise in Coron, Palawan. So last few messages for everybody, including Spanky. And again, thank you very much for joining us in this really, really good session on food and beverage. The best people chosen to join us, definitely. Very good insights. Spanky?
Yeah, let's start with Sao, Chef Sao.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would your advice be for your friends?
No crying, Chef Sawa. We love you.
No, you know what? I get always emotional because it's
Yeah,
not so easy.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, it makes me human, di ba?
Yeah.
And aside from Café Fleur Poblacion, there's no stopping me because I'm so adamant about this. I love this business where we are in right now. We're opening Bistro Fleur also in Poblacion in the next few months. The Gran Inihaw, I don't know, you know about Gran Inihaw in the
Yes.
70s. We're putting up Gran Inihaw by Café Fleur and another Café Fleur in the international airport in Clark Air Base. So there's no looking back. Anong pandemic? Anong COVID?
Yes.
Right? We're here to survive. We are survivors. We know we could handle this.
Mhm. Nice. Thank you, Chef Sao. Adolf?
Adolf? Yeah.
Okay, I think we've talked about so much about food, but let me just state, because I'm sure there's a lot of hotels who are listening right now. And what I saw that the Discovery is doing, especially when I saw the video, is one of the things that we need to bridge that gap between expectation on service excellence and what the safety protocols are
Yes.
doing to be able to affect that kind of guest service. I saw a portion in that video wherein the room service is being encouraged, and of course the guest taking it inside, the food being taken inside. We are, travelers are a pampered lot, and we are spoiled, and we need to be able to explain how this physical distancing works. And if because of that, we need to be able to educate them and communicate why it's no longer going to be possible for some things. I once checked in a hotel in Batangas, and it has to be explained to me why how physical distancing is affecting the luggage assistance, for example.
Mhm.
And we need to be able to do that as well in different aspects of the hotel operations. Queuing while doing check-in, queuing during breakfast reception. So these are the many things that we can do to be able to improve the expectations. And thank you, Discovery, for being able to do that via your video and other ways
Yeah.
of. And we need to be able to rally the other members, the other stakeholders of the hotel industry to do just the same, so that when we increase consumer confidence, we can see that being translated to increase in revenues.
That's
So
right.
mabuhay po tayong lahat at maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
Love
Thank you
it.
so much, Adolf. David?
Thank you, Kathy. Well, the first thing I want to say is how grateful I am to our distinguished panelists for having accepted this invitation from Discovery Hospitality to join us for this very friendly discussion. F&B people are the most fun people. F&B people, when they get together, it's always fun. We all go back 20 years. So there are so many things to talk about, so many happy memories. And I guess it's part of the cohesive bond that has now allowed the industry to stick together and move forward together and hope together and dream that things are going to get better. I share in their optimism that things will look brighter in the days ahead. Maybe it's not tomorrow, maybe it's not the day after, but we have to keep moving forward towards that horizon, doing our part, educating our staff, educating our customers, like Adolf said, with the knowledge that we can bounce back. And I am a firm believer that when all this is said and done, the new reinvented F&B and hospitality industry is going to be a more advanced one, an improved one. It's going to be evolved compared to what we were doing 2 years ago. We're going to ask ourselves, I can't believe we were working that way before.
Mhm.
And it's going to put us in a much stronger position to have a much more solid, much more profitable and a confident future together. And it's going to have us ready in case this should happen again. We will never get caught by surprise by a circumstance like this again.
Yeah.
Well said.
Excellent. You're all very inspiring. Okay.
Yes.
I think next time we have this, Catherine should have wine or something
I know.
because
I
it's
was
really.
just gonna say that
Yes.
session with a glass of wine.
Like,
I know. I mean, I'm having coffee, but I see the pool behind me, and oh my gosh, I just want to go be outside.
Should have a very interesting last few words because of
Ah,
course you're my co-moderator for this afternoon, but of course you are a guest, and we'd like to hear from you. And thank you again for joining us this
again,
afternoon.
thank you, Kathy. It's been a pleasure and an honor, really. I'm a big supporter, as I mentioned earlier. But I'd like to address this to all the people watching who may or may not be part of our industry. You know what? If there's any industry second to healthcare that's been so obsessive compulsive with sanitation and safety, even before the pandemic, it's the nature of what we do for hospitality, for hotels, for resorts, for restaurants, big and small. That's our main reason for being. We're feeding you, we're giving you a roof over your head, and that's why we have all the safety stands. So trust them. And right now, even if we can't go out, and we're hoping that soon, maybe we'll have more of the kids go out, the seniors will be going out. If you can't, there's a way you can help, and this is how you can. We can share good news, and I think it was Adolf who mentioned earlier. Let's talk about good news. Let's not talk about the fear that would always be there, but fear can be managed by safety protocols. But what we want to do is the bayanihan spirit. Magtulungan tayo. And how can we do this? Very simply, if you have a good experience in any restaurant, be dine in or take out, in a hotel, so in a hotel when you start to open, share it on social media. Let's share the good news. Let's build confidence, and together, by all of us, not just everyone in the industry, we can build steps one by one. So when we finally get the vaccines, when we return to a better normal, with all the lessons learned, we're nothing but stronger. And we
Wow.
can't wait for that day.
Thank you so much, Spanky. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I realized I'm the only woman here, pala. Yes, thank you so much for your insights, and of course, to Spanky, Adolf, and Chef Sao, you've always supported the Discovery Group. You are almost like a partner in our industry. So, and as you know, Discovery Hospitality, from our resorts to our city hotels, we always work within the industry. We work with the people, and we help each other through our associations. And we thank you for joining us in this very enlightening and touching. You know, it's food and beverage, but you know, it touches the heart, right? The topics are quite touching. And yes, to all the viewers, thank you so much for listening in and seeing and staying with us for an hour or so. We will have another webinar episode come March, so watch out for that. And if you have any questions, you can put in your questions or your queries addressed to our guests, and we will get back to you on that. And again, thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you, David, Chef Sao, Adolf, and Spanky. From the bottom of our hearts in Discovery, thank you so much. And enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Bye.
Thank you, Kathy.
Bye.
Great pleasure
Thank
to be
you,
here.
Kathy. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.